you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this?
What is going on, everybody? Got a interesting video for you today, but before I get into the video, I would just like to thank and show my appreciation to all the people that are supporting us on Weapon Wheel, supporting our Patreon, and we're trying to do new things, bigger things, better things in 2017, so all of the praise, all the support, it's all welcomed, and I appreciate it, and I can't thank you enough. So, what we're going to talk about today is there is an article on Polygon.com titled Final Fantasy VII, An Oral History, written by Matt Leone. But what I really want to talk about is just how awful and terrible Nintendo used to be back in the day. And what am I talking about? Used to be back in the day. They still are terrible today. And what I'm going to be delving into today is why the Nintendo 64 was an absolute failure. Now, don't get me wrong, the console was a good console, had tons of the best games ever created, some of my favorite games of all time, but the everlasting damage that the N64 has brought upon Nintendo is still in existence today, because still, after the N64, they cannot secure third-party support, and they still are making bad and terrible business decisions in regards to securing third-party development. So, I will not even try to pronounce the names of these people I am talking about, but you can see the image, and he is the vice president of Square USA. Now, this is along the time when the PlayStation 1 was coming out, the N64 was coming out, both of these consoles were in development, and Squaresoft, which is now known as Square Enix, was trying to develop Final Fantasy VII, but they didn't know exactly which direction to go into. Should they stick with Nintendo, tried and true, or should they be more ambitious and go with the new dog in town, Sony? But as the vice president of Square USA says, at that time, Square was really close to Nintendo. We were basically like a second party for them. So when their new system was in development, we gave them a lot of advice, like you're going to need a CD-ROM drive for it. You don't have enough bandwidth to do what you're trying to do, and with what you have now, we're not going to be able to make an RPG. We gave them lots of advice, but Nintendo president, y'all know that guy, he basically refused to listen to any of it. And that's what Sakaguchi-san and the management team at Square decided. Okay, we're going to go with Sony now. It's no different. From one president to another, to whoever they have now, Nintendo just cannot play well with others. They have to have it their way, and they can't have anything to appease to anybody else. And once again, it bit him in the ass. And continuing on, note, in 2001, then Square president said in an interview that Nintendo became especially frustrated not when Square left, but later when Square helped convince others, such as Enix, to leave as well. Suzuki declined an interview request for this story. And come on, why wouldn't they? You know Squaresoft's philosophy back in the day. They weren't doing multiplat. They were making games for the top dog and the top dog only. So, if they're going to PlayStation, they want everybody else to go to PlayStation too. They want to make the PlayStation king. And back then, Squaresoft pretty much did just that. Moving on, once again back to the vice president of Square USA, when we made the decision to go with Sony for about 10 years, I repeat people, for about 10 years, we were basically not allowed into Nintendo's offices. How freaking petty is that? From a consumer's point of view, it was good to have two companies competing with each other because prices wouldn't rise. It will be better for them. But from a business perspective, our main interest was making sure that Sony won and Nintendo lost. Basically, that would be better for us. And, as far as business goes, I agree. But again, because Nintendo was so petty and childish and would not talk with Squaresoft and basically banned them even from communication in their offices for over around a decade, all those nice Final Fantasy ports we could have had on the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Advance, they all went to the freaking Wonder Swan. All because Nintendo is just so damn childish. And ending this off, character programmer from Square Japan says, "What I heard was Nintendo said, if you're leaving us, never come back." Well, guess what, Nintendo? Squaresoft left, and they never came back.